What's more fun than a gravity knife fidget? Maybe lots of gravity knife fidgets? Or maybe a stainless steel one? I thought it would be really cool to have a gravity knife in stainless steel. Well, gravity fidget, because these aren't actually sharpened. They're not a knife. But anyways, so Just Way here. They're super easy to use. I was surprised. You just go to 3D printing, upload your design, and then you select your file. I went with this variant, and then you pick a quantity, and then you get to pick a material. I went with stainless steel. If anyone wants to sponsor me to get titanium, that would be cool, but very expensive. Anyway, stainless steel is totally reasonable, and you can weld on it. And I hit submit, which sends it to their engineers to make sure it's a printable design. Now, what I didn't realize was they don't do print in place designs in metal because they want supports everywhere. So they printed it in separate pieces and sent it. But their support said they would be happy to print it into something else and send me that instead. But I felt like it would be totally reasonable to just do an assembly myself. And so that is what will be next. But for anybody else, if you want to do it, I would highly recommend go with a design like this where there's multiple pieces. And then here you just say upload the threads and diagram. I'm not exactly sure how those work, but I would assume it's something like this where you just show which threads are needed. But anyways, I hit submit request. I got my pieces, and now I am just going to go through assembly. Now, the surface finish on these just looks absolutely amazing, so I really don't want to mess it up too much. So I'll have to cut off these little nubs, and then I'll put a bolt through there, and so we'll just get started by doing that. I'm just going to cut it off with a hacksaw. Now, you could use a side grinder for this, but I'm not wanting to damage the surface finish as much as possible. So I'm just using a hacksaw. There we go. Now I am going to just clean it up a little bit with a side grinder just to make sure that it doesn't get stuck and it can slide smoothly. Now I did 3D print a template so I could make sure to find the perfect center when I'm drilling my hole for the bolt. I'm just going to start with a smaller bit. I'm going to do this from both sides to make sure I have a straight hole, using a little bit of water to keep the bit cool. Now I'm sizing up the bit a little bit. Does anyone know why it has that squeak? Now we're going to do the same over here, but you don't have to go all the way in because we're going to be cutting the middle out. So I'm just going to be drilling holes that just go about a quarter of the way into this project. I'm going to be sizing up the bits, getting bigger and bigger. And that was my template. Adding some water. Now I'm just going to cut the middle out. Speeding it up here. There we go. Now I'm just going to grind it smooth so it doesn't get hung up and I can fit the piece together. Sliding it all together. Now just starting my thread, I'm using a drill to try and start it so it's level. I don't end up starting it sideways. Now I'm going back and forth to make sure I break off the little chunks as I'm threading it. This took much longer, just skipping most of that. Now I was having a hard time. It was pushing the back side out while I was trying to thread it, so I just have a clamp holding it together. Now that we have it threaded, I have part of a bolt that I'm just going to thread in there. Seems to work good. Now I just need to thread out the blade. Now I'm cleaning up the edges, making sure everything's smooth again after threading it, and re-cleaning out the threads. There we go. Now I'm going to be making my bolt. Now I want it to be the right shape to fit in the track, so I'm just changing the angles on the edges and shrinking it just a little bit so it'll hopefully fit perfectly in the handle. Now just threading it together. Going to add a little Loctite, so hopefully this never comes apart. There we go. Now just going to tighten that up. Cutting off the excess bolt. I cut it a bit shy here, so I was going to go closer with the grinder, but I really don't want to mess up the surface if I don't have to. So now doing the same on the bottom, just cutting off the extra bolt. Now I'm just going to bang this one down a bit so it doesn't have any chance of coming out because there was not enough room for Loctite. And there we go. All done. It's quite heavy. Feels great in the hand. Here's a better look at it. And if anybody else wants to try using Justway, I was very pleased with their service, just how easy everything was, and their customer support was really nice. Here's a weight comparison. I've got both your pounds and your grams. Grams on the left, pounds on the right. And here's for the metal one, significantly heavier. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. Now, for those of you who are interested, it often bugs me that you watch an entire build video and then they only show you 10 seconds of a finished product. So here is some more look at what it looks like once it's finished.